Blood on the Hudson, Chapter 1, The First Package, 1994. The winter of 1994 hit New Jersey like a punishment. The kind of cold that didn't just bite your skin, it sat in your bones and waited. Rico Alvarez stood outside a warehouse near the docks, breath turning into smoke as trucks rolled in and out like ghosts. He wasn't supposed to be there. Not yet, not officially, but Rico had been watching, learning, waiting. Inside, men moved like they owned the night. No uniforms, no logos, just leather jackets, gold chains, and silence. That kind of silence meant money and danger. A black Cadillac pulled up slow. Out stepped Vince the Knife Carbone. Nobody spoke when he walked in. Rico noticed that. Power didn't need noise. It demanded space. "Who's the kid?" Vince asked without even looking at him. Tony Rivera, dock supervisor, small-time hustler, and Rico's way in stepped forward. "He's clean, fast, doesn't talk." Vince finally looked at Rico, not at his face, at his eyes, like he was measuring how long he'd last. "Everybody talks," Vince said quietly. "Just depends how much pain it takes." Rico didn't respond, didn't blink. That was the test, and somehow, he passed. That night, Rico got his first job. Simple. Drive a van. No questions, no stops, no mistakes. The package was already inside. Wrapped, sealed, heavy. Too heavy for what Tony said it was. "Just electronics," Tony told him. Rico didn't believe that for a second, but he drove anyway. Rain started falling halfway through the route. Streetlights flickered as he crossed into the city. The Hudson looked black. Endless, like it could swallow secrets and never give them back. Halfway to the drop, the van started making a noise, a low grinding sound. Rico cursed under his breath and pulled over. Bad move, very bad move. Headlights appeared behind him, then another car, and another, 3 cars, boxing him in. Men stepped out, not Vince's people. These guys moved different, faster, cleaner. One of them pulled a gun, silencer, no hesitation. Rico's heart started pounding, but his hands stayed steady. That's what saved him. The first shot shattered the driver's window, glass exploded. Rico ducked, kicked the door open, and rolled out into the rain. Bullets hit the van, metal screaming. He ran, didn't think, didn't look back, just ran. One of the men shouted, "To get the package!" Not "get him." That told Rico everything. The package mattered more than his life. Rico slid behind a dumpster, breathing hard, water soaking through his jacket. He reached inside, pulled out the small pistol Tony gave him, just in case. The footsteps got closer, slow, careful. Hunters. Rico waited, counted. 1, 2, 3. He popped up and fired once, twice, 3 times. A man dropped, the others scattered, not expecting resistance. That moment, that split second of chaos, that's when Rico made his decision. He didn't go back to the van, didn't finish the job, didn't follow orders. He ran into the night with nothing but the knowledge that whatever was in that van was worth killing for. And now, everyone was going to want him dead. Chapter 2, The Man Who Doesn't Forget. Vince the Knife didn't yell, didn't scream, didn't throw things. That wasn't his style. He just stood there, listening, as Tony explained what happened. The kid panicked. Vince raised one finger. Tony stopped talking immediately. 3 cars, Vince said calmly. Professional hit. He walked slowly across the room. You don't panic in a professional hit. Tony swallowed hard. He ran. That made Vince smile, just a little. Good, he said. Tony blinked, confused. Good? Vince lit a cigarette, took a slow drag. That means he's not stupid. He turned. Now his eyes were cold, dead cold. But he made one mistake. Tony didn't want to ask, but he had to. What's that? Vince stepped closer, real close. He's still alive. Silence filled the room. Heavy, final. Find him, Vince said, before someone else does. Because out there, in the cold streets of the 90s, there was only one rule. You either worked for the family, or you ran from it. And Rico Alvarez, now he was running. Chapter 3. Secrets Inside Steel. Rico didn't stop until sunrise. He ended up in an abandoned building in Newark. Cold, empty safe for now. His hands were still shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline. He kept replaying it in his head, the van, the shooters, the way they said, "Get the package!" So whatever was inside that van, it wasn't electronics. It was something bigger, something dangerous, something that just put a target on his back. Rico leaned against the wall, closed his eyes, tried to think. That's when he realized something. He still had the keys, not just to the van, but to everything that came with it. And in this world, keys didn't just open doors, they opened truths. And sometimes truths got you killed. To be continued. If you want, I'll continue. Chapter 4. The van. Rico waited until nightfall. The city felt different now. Every sound meant something. Every shadow moved. Every car that slowed down could be the last thing he ever saw. He made his way back, carefully, slow, back to where it all started. The van was still there, parked crooked, bullet holes scattered across the side like scars that would never heal. No police, no tape, no bodies. That meant only one thing. Someone already cleaned it. Rico approached slowly, gun ready, breath steady. He opened the driver's door. Glass crunched under his feet. The inside smelled like metal and blood. But the back, that's what mattered. He moved to the rear doors, paused, listened, nothing. Then he pulled them open. Inside, steel containers, locked, heavy, military-grade locks. Rico frowned. "Electronics?" he muttered. "Yeah, right." He climbed inside, ran his fingers across the metal. Cold, solid, important. Then he saw it. One of the containers was cracked open, just enough. Rico pulled it wider and froze. Stacks, neatly packed, plastic wrapped. Not drugs, not weapons, money, millions. Rico stepped back slowly, heart racing. This wasn't just a delivery, this was a transfer. Big enough to shake entire organizations, and now everyone involved thought he either stole it or knew where it was. Both meant the same thing. He was dead. Unless he got smarter, faster, colder. Rico grabbed one bundle, just one, stuffed it into his jacket. Not greed, insurance. Then he closed the container, locked it back, like nothing was ever touched. Because in this game, the smartest move wasn't taking everything. It was knowing when to take just enough and walk away. Chapter 5. Hunted. By midnight, the city was already talking. Not out loud, never out loud, but whispers moved faster than bullets. A missing van, a dead crew, a driver who disappeared. Rico Alvarez. Now his name meant something, and not in a good way. Inside a smoke-filled back room in Jersey City, Vince sat at the head of the table, silent, watching. Across from him sat a man nobody introduced, because he didn't need one. Sergei Volkov, Russian, cold, precise, dangerous. The money was ours, Sergei said calmly. Vince leaned back slightly, eyes sharp. Then why was it in my van? Silence, heavy. Sergei smiled, but there was no humor in it, because we trusted the wrong people. Vince nodded slowly, then spoke. Now we both got a problem. Sergei leaned forward. No, he said quietly. You have a problem. He slid a photo across the table. Rico, captured from a distance, blurry but clear enough. You find him, Sergei said, or we do. Vince looked at the photo, then at his men. Bring me the kid. A pause. Alive. Because dead men don't talk, and Vince needed answers. Chapter 6. The woman in red, Rico, needed help, but help was dangerous. The wrong person, you're finished. The right person, you still might be finished. There was only one name that came to mind: Isabella Cruz. She wasn't part of any family, didn't answer to anyone. That's what made her powerful and unpredictable. Rico found her where she always was, a nightclub in Manhattan. Music loud, lights flashing, money flowing. But Isabella? She stood still in the middle of it all, like she controlled the chaos. Red dress, sharp eyes, danger wrapped in beauty. She saw Rico before he even reached her. "You look like death," she said, sipping her drink. Rico didn't waste time. "I need information." She smiled. "That's expensive." Rico pulled out the bundle of cash, placed it on the table. Her eyes flickered, just for a second. "Now you have my attention." Rico leaned in. What was in that van? Isabella stared at him, long, careful. Then she laughed softly. "You really don't know what you got yourself into, do you?" Rico didn't respond, so she leaned closer, voice low, dead serious. "That money?" She paused. "It's not just money." Rico frowned. "What do you mean?" Isabella's smile disappeared. "That's war money." The music kept playing, people kept dancing, but for Rico, everything just stopped. Because in the 90s, when war money moved, bodies followed, and now he was standing right in the middle of it. Chapter 7. No Way Out. By morning, there was nowhere left to hide. Vince's crew was searching. Sergei's men were hunting, and Isabella, she was watching. Because in this world, nobody helped for free. Rico stood on the edge of the Hudson River, looking at the water. Dark, cold, endless, same as the life he just stepped into. He had two choices: run and die tired, or step in and become something else, something dangerous. Rico turned, looked at the city behind him, then made his decision. He wasn't running anymore. If they wanted a war, they were going to get one, and it was going to start with him. Blood on the Hudson. Chapter 8. The First Move. Rico didn't go back to hiding. He went forward. That's what surprised everyone. Instead of running from Vince, he walked straight into one of Vince's spots. A bar in the Bronx. Dark, quiet, the kind of place where deals were made and people disappeared. Two men at the door stopped him. "You lost?" one of them asked. Rico shook his head slowly. "I'm here for Vince." The men looked at each other, then laughed. But Rico didn't. "Tell him Rico Alvarez is here," he said. The name hit different now. One of the men stepped inside. Seconds later, the mood changed. "Go," the other guard said, stepping aside. Rico walked in. Vince was already waiting, sitting in the back, smoke rising around him like a crown. "You got guts," Vince said without looking up. Rico didn't sit, didn't relax, didn't blink. "I didn't take your money." That got Vince's attention. Slowly, he looked up. "Then why are you still breathing?" Vince asked. Rico stepped closer. "Because I can help you get it back." Silence. The entire room froze. Vince studied him, long, careful. Then he smiled. "You got 5 seconds, he said. Rico didn't hesitate. 3 crews hit that van, Rico said. Not random, coordinated. That means inside information. Vince leaned forward slightly. "Go on." Rico's voice stayed steady. "Someone close to you set it up." The room got colder. Because in the mob, there's nothing worse than betrayal. Vince's smile disappeared. "And you know who?" he asked. Rico shook his head. "Not yet." A pause. "But I will." Now Vince stood up. Slow. Dangerous. "You better," he said quietly. Because now, Rico wasn't just a target. He was part of the game. Chapter 9. The betrayal line. The next 48 hours. Rico didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't stop moving. Because once you step inside, there's no halfway. You either prove your value, or you disappear. Rico started watching, listening, connecting pieces, and one name kept coming up. Tony Rivera, the same man who vouched for him, the same man who gave him the job, the same man who knew everything about that route. Too much. Rico didn't rush, didn't confront him. Instead, he followed him late night, abandoned streets. Tony thought he was alone. He wasn't. Rico watched from across the street as Tony met someone. A black car, tinted windows, engine running. Tony leaned in, spoke fast, nervous. Then, a hand came out, passed him something. Cash. Rico clenched his jaw. There it was, proof. But proof wasn't enough. In this world, you needed timing. So Rico waited until Tony got back in his car, started driving. Then Rico followed. 3 blocks later, he made his move, cut him off, forced him to stop. Gun out, walking straight to the driver's side. Tony's eyes went wide. Rico, listen, sir. Who are you working for? Rico snapped. Tony shook his head fast. You don't understand! Rico slammed the gun against the window. I understand you sold me out. Silence. Tony's breathing got heavy. Then he said it. Russians. Rico already knew. But hearing it made it real. They paid me, Tony said quickly. I didn't know they were gonna hit the van like that. Rico opened the door, dragged him out. You knew enough, Rico said cold. Tony dropped to his knees. Please, Rico, we can fix this! But Rico wasn't listening anymore. Because this wasn't about fixing anything. This was about sending a message. And in the 90s, messages were written in blood. Chapter 10. The Shift. Rico didn't kill him. That's what made it worse. Instead, he brought Tony to Vince, alive, broken, and let Vince decide. The entire crew watched as Tony was dragged in, bleeding, begging. Vince didn't speak at first, he just stared. You sold me out, Vince said finally. Tony cried, actually cried. I made a mistake! Vince nodded slowly. Yeah, he said, you did. Then he looked at Rico. You brought him to me. Rico said nothing. You could have killed him, Vince continued. Still, nothing. Then Vince smiled. But you didn't. A pause. That means you're thinking. Vince turned back to Tony. And that means he pulled out a knife. Slow, calm. You're not. The room went silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Only Tony's screams filled the air. And Rico? He didn't look away. That's when Vince knew. The kid wasn't just surviving, he was changing. Becoming something else. Something dangerous. Chapter 11, Isabella's Game. Later that night, Rico found Isabella again. Same club, same chaos, but now, everything felt different. Because now Rico understood. She wasn't just a player, she was part of something bigger. You're moving fast, she said, watching him approach. Rico sat down. Tony was the leak. She didn't look surprised. Of course he was. Rico leaned in. You knew. She smiled slightly. I know a lot of things. That's when Rico realized something. Something important. You set this up, he said quietly. Isabella didn't answer right away. She took a sip of her drink, then looked at him. I set opportunities, she said. What people do with them, that's on them. Rico stared at her. You're playing both sides. Now she smiled for real. And you're just catching up. The music got louder, lights flashing, but Rico stayed focused. Why? He asked. Isabella leaned closer. Because there's more than one throne in this city. A pause. And I plan to sit on all of them. Rico leaned back slowly. Now he understood. This wasn't just a mob war. This was something bigger. Power, control, empire, and Isabella, she wasn't surviving it, she was building it. Blood on the Hudson. Chapter 12. War in the Shadows. The city didn't sleep anymore. It waited. Word spread fast, faster than bullets. Vince's crew was moving. Sergei's men were retaliating. And in the middle of it all, Rico was no longer a target. He was a problem. Bodies started dropping across New Jersey and Manhattan. Quiet hits, clean executions, nobody claimed them. But everybody knew. War had officially begun. Rico stood inside an empty warehouse overlooking the Hudson, the same river where everything started. But now, he wasn't the same man. Behind him stood Vince, silent, watching. "You started something big," Vince said. Rico didn't turn. "No," he replied. "You did, when you trusted the wrong people." Vince smirked. "Careful," he said. "You're starting to sound like you belong here." Rico finally turned, eyes cold. "I do belong here now." That answer changed everything, because Vince realized something in that moment. The kid wasn't working for him anymore. He was becoming his equal. Before Vince could respond, the doors exploded open. Gunfire, automatic, relentless, Sergei's men. Bullets tore through the warehouse, glass shattered, metal screamed. Rico dove behind crates, firing back, precise, focused. Vince's men returned fire, but they were outnumbered. Smoke filled the air, chaos everywhere. Then, silence. Too fast, too clean. Rico looked up. Sergei walked in slowly, calm, untouched. "You should have run," Sergei said. Rico stood, gun raised. "And you should have stayed in Russia," Rico replied. Sergei smiled. "You think this is about money?" He stepped closer. "This is about control." A pause. "And right now, you have none." Rico didn't move. "Maybe," he said. Then he looked past Sergei and smiled. Sergei's expression shifted. Slowly, he turned. Too late. Isabella stood behind him, gun already raised. "You always talk too much," she said. One shot. Clean. Sergei dropped instantly. The war just changed. Chapter 13. The Last King. Everything went quiet. Too quiet. Smoke drifted through the warehouse. Bodies on the floor. Blood on the concrete. Sergei was gone. Just like that. Isabella lowered the gun slowly. Rico stared at her. "You planned this," he said. She didn't deny it. "I ended it," she replied. Vince stepped forward, angry, confused. "You think this is over?" Vince snapped. Isabella turned to him. "No," she said calmly. Then she looked at Rico. "This is where it begins." Silence. Rico understood. This wasn't about surviving anymore. This was about power, and there was only room for one. Vince reached for his gun. Too slow. Rico fired first. One shot. Vince froze, then dropped. The man who controlled everything, gone in a second, just like everyone else. Rico stood there, breathing slow, looking at what he'd done, what he'd become. Isabella stepped closer. "So," she said softly, "now what?" Rico looked at the Hudson, the water moving, endless, cold, then back at her. "Now," he said, "we build something bigger." A pause. But this time, his eyes locked onto hers. No betrayal. Isabella smiled slightly. "In this world," she said, "good luck." They stood there, side by side, not allies, not enemies, something in between. Something dangerous, because in the end, the streets didn't belong to the strongest or the smartest. They belonged to the last one standing. And now, that was Rico. The end. The war is over. But the story never really ends. If you felt that ending, if you were there through every betrayal, every move, every shot fired, then don't just watch and disappear. Hit subscribe and step deeper into the empire. Like this video if you want more stories like this. Share it with someone who lives for real cinematic storytelling. Because this is just the beginning. More power, more chaos, more stories coming soon. Stay locked in. Shadow Empire Stories.